This video is brought to you by Displate. Go to displate.com for some amazing metal posters. Hello and welcome to Comic Drake, where I talk about comic books and my name is Drake. When it comes to iconic moments in Batman's history, few are as impactful as the death of Jason Todd, because what ended up happening in the aftermath had ripple effects that the entire DC universe had to deal with. But what would have happened if he had lived? Well, today we're going to discuss that. To make things clear, there is a really good chance that Jason Todd could have lived. See, during the storyline A Death in the Family, the Joker beat Jason with a crowbar and blew up the building he was in. DC left his fate up to the readers by opening up 2 hotlines for 2 days, where fans could vote if they wanted him alive or dead. Both scripts and penned artwork were already made, and it truly was up to a vote, not just a sham. There were 10,614 votes that were cast, which, side note, cost 50 cents each to make. That means that $5,307 were made purely from votes. That just fascinates me. Anyway, the vote was neck and neck with only a margin of 72 votes. To make things even more complicated though, editor Dennis O'Neil eventually commented years later that, "I heard it was one guy who programmed his computer to dial the thumbs down number every 90 seconds for 8 hours who made the difference." Doing the math, that means that one person made 320 votes, which cost them a total of $160. That is some freaking dedication. If this truly was the case though, then there's no doubt that Jason would have lived, but what would the impact of that be? Obviously, this is all speculation, so please take everything I say from here on out with a grain of salt. Would Jason have still been an angsty brat? I mean, sure, but I really think that this would have been a learning experience. My thought is that he would have grown into more of a lovable asshole character like Guy Gardner, or for a more bat-centric example, Damian Wayne. I mean, with the votes so close already, DC would have had to have taken note that the character wasn't well liked, and they would have tried to do something to make him more interesting. Eventually though, I think that Jason would have moved on to another identity separate from Batman, a la Nightwing, but I highly doubt it would be Red Hood. Jason only took up the mantle since it was Joker's old identity, and Jason was aiming to rub salt in the wound while he got revenge on him. What if Jason didn't move away from being Robin though? Since Dick Grayson was Robin for literally decades, doesn't it stand to reason that Jason very well could have too? Would we have actually gotten all of the different Robins in general? Would Jason eventually become Batman? I mean, that's what happened on Earth 15 after all. I could also very much see a storyline after A Death in the Family where Jason spends a lot of time in recovery, where his hatred and anger only grows. I mean, he got massively hurt by the Joker. There's no way that he's just walking that off. Also though, what if he swore to get revenge on the Joker just like how he did in the storyline Under the Hood? I could very easily see Jason straight up killing the Joker, and man, the consequences of that would be huge. Unless the Joker came back to life, which, yeah, he would. However, I also think it's pretty obvious that Batman would have become a completely different character if Jason survived. The death of Jason Todd has since gone on to become one of Bruce's greatest failures, and the character development that followed wouldn't have existed entirely. How would Batman have acted if this incident wasn't fatal? Would he have gotten more protective of Jason? Would he have declared no more Robins and fired him on the spot? I really have no idea. I do, however, think that even if Batman declared that he was done with Robins, a new one would eventually show up anyway. With Dick Grayson literally being introduced to give younger readers a character to more closely relate to, I think that having that youthful perspective in Batman's dark world is really an asset. Would a future Robin die though? I mean, probably. After all, The Dark Knight Returns predated A Death in the Family by a couple of years, and Robin having died was a pretty important detail in it. Speaking of The Dark Knight Returns, I get the feeling that DC would have brought Carrie Kelly to the main comics as the new Robin. She was pretty popular and would have most likely pleased the fanboys who hated Jason. What I'm pretty sure of though is that Tim Drake would not have been created, which is an entire stack of dominoes greater than anything that I could possibly mention regarding changes. I mean, seriously, Tim Drake's time as Robin has probably been the most significant out of any Robin ever. Sure, Dick gets a lot of credit for being the first one, but I really feel like his role of Nightwing has just transcended and overshadowed his time as Robin. Tim was Robin for some of the most significant events in Batman's modern history, and when he moved into a solo identity, he became Red Robin. Being Robin is so core to his role in DC Comics that he still doesn't entirely move away from it when given the opportunity. Tim Drake was one of the most high-profile young characters that DC had going for them, and without him, would we have gotten Young Justice? Would we have gotten Stephanie Brown? Just how much of Superboy's life would be impacted without their bromance? Titans. I mean, none of these elements would have really worked if you just swapped out Tim Drake for Jason Todd during DC's history. So because this is such a big topic, I didn't think that my thoughts alone would be enough. So I reached out to you guys on Twitter, and here's what you had to say. @Theodore Tweets says, the Teen Titans would be different. Red Hood and the Outlaws wouldn't have happened. So Starfire would probably have been on the New 52 Teen Titans. Their team would be really different. Battle for the Cowl wouldn't have happened. Dick would just take the mantle, no problem. @IronMan14JH says, maybe Jason would have been Batman at some point, even by force, or when Bruce Wayne dies. @Leonidas701 says, Dick Grayson would not have come back to be Batman. He would have remained Nightwing, and Jason Todd would have taken the Batman mantle and trained Damian. @Schlongstro says, Jason would have found religion and stopped being Robin to convert others, and slowly leave the Batman comics. The Watchtower Database says, maybe he would have been included in the DC animated universe in addition to, or instead of Tim, since he likely would have become a more prominent/important Batman character. The Epic Wario says, Batman would forbid Jason to be Robin due to the incident, and after protesting against it, Jason would eventually become his own vigilante. Unlike how he was as the Red Hood, however, he'd be far less ruthless and be using it to try and prove that he can take care of himself. In the end, though, I think there's little doubt that one of the main reasons why Jason Todd is popular today is because of his time as the Red Hood. So, in a weird kind of messed up way, I think that DC actually made the right choice. It's been really awesome to see Jason Todd grow as a character, and I enjoy it. I know this video was a little bit weird since it was mostly just me asking questions and not really providing any answers, but it would be pretty hard to do that since there's no real way to see how DC Comics would have handled things. But what do you guys think? Feel free to answer any of the questions that I stated in this video or that the fans submitted, and if there's anything that I didn't talk about, then feel free to put those down there in the comments as well. But before I let you guys go, I want to give a big thank you to our sponsor for this week, Displate. So for those of you guys that don't know, Displate makes these awesome metal posters, and having recently moved to my new apartment, they've really helped spruce the entire place up. I got this BoJack Horseman one. I'm a big fan. And then also, I got some non-nerdy stuff, my favorite being this skyline of Dallas, Texas, which is where I live. One thing that I really do like, though, is that I am terrible at hanging up photos or frankly anything. They're always a little bit crooked. So I do appreciate that Displate has these magnets that they stick onto the wall, and then you put them onto, oh, that was probably really loud, but you put them onto the poster, and it makes hanging and adjusting so much easier. I really do like these, and if you guys want to get some, then there's going to be a link in the description below. I actually don't have the link or discount code right now. That wasn't in the collaboration details, so they're probably going to be on screen right here. But if you like this video, then why not consider subscribing or even watching another one? And if you liked this video, then you might like the recent one that I did on some popular Batman misconceptions that I tried to answer. But anyway, I hope you learned at least a little something new, and hopefully, I'll see you next time.